welcome everyone for coming out in this heat tonight for the regular Board of School Trustees meeting held today, 6 p.m. on August 26th. With that, if I could ask everyone to stand, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance in a moment of silence. Mr. Smith will lead us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Item 2 tonight is our Board of School Trustees Resolution of Accommodations. We have 5 this evening. First one being the Crown Point High School VEX Robotics for winning the Tournament Champion and Excellence Awards at the regional competition, advancing to the state championship. 2.02, the Crown Point High School First Robotics team for winning the Engineering Inspiration Award at the regional competition, advancing to the state championship. 2.03, Crown Point High School Excalibur yearbook for receiving the first place Rowena Harvey Award for Academics in Division III at the Indiana High School Press Association state competition. 2.04, the Crown Point High School Inklings for receiving the 2022-2023 Hoosier State Award, the highest award in the state from the Indiana High School Press Association in the state competition. And 2.05, the Crown Point High School Crowntown Media News website for receiving the 2022-2023 Hoosier Star Award, the highest recognition in the state from the Indiana High School Press Association in the state competition. May I have a motion to approve the accommodation awards?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Smith, second by Ms. Bazin. Question or discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries 4-0. We'll now present those awards individually. Mr. Vassar will present the first one, the VEX Robotics for winning the Tournament Champion and Excellence Awards. Mr. Vassar?
Come on in. Good group. Okay, welcome. What a nice group. This is our Crown Point High School robotics team for finished first for winning the Engineering Inspiration Award at the regional competition and advancing. Well, that's. I'm not going to hire Mr. Angel as my secretary. Okay, take 2. VEX Robotics for winning the Tournament Champion and Excellent Awards at regional competition and advancing to the state competition. First, let me introduce our coaches, Matt LeBlanc and Ben Baker. And coaches, would you like to say any words about your team?
I always forget that I have to say something. I just want to say that, we're always really lucky to have kids who come and are just extra committed to robotics. These students put in up to 6 hours a week in the classroom after school. But this year, last year, they were given an extra challenge that construction kind of limited how much time we could spend after the winter break in the room. So they went home and their parents opened up their garages and their basements and their outbuildings and all sorts of things and gave the students, the opportunity to practice and get a lot more practice time in than we would have had. And so this is really them taking it on themselves to do what they needed to do this year. So I'm just super proud of our group. Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, as I call you up, please come and get your award. If I mispronounce your name, I'm sorry in advance. Noah Nichols. Dexter Kiger. Oh, this is a great first name. Miles, that's a great first name. Miles Skuramit. He's at college, so okay. Great first name. Jackson Donovan, also at college, okay. Macy, are you here? Okay. That's 3 in a row, right? Okay. Emily Hack. Okay. Brianna Johnson. Sophia, is it Knipper or Nipper? Knipper. Noah, is Noah here? Okay, Noah Chapko. Joshua Gorney. Aaron Grady. Jackson Pugh. Okay, John Hellegestedt. Samuel McGrath. Oh, boy. Okay. Arnav, so far, I'm not finished yet. Parucular? I got it then. And Caesar is here. Brothers? Yeah. Okay, Caesar Quirmit. Yeah. Is the second team the same kid? Okay. So, I'm going to give you these two, Coach, for our missing kids. Okay. Okay, same coaches. I'm sorry. Okay, this is the Crown Point High School first robotics team for winning the Engineering Inspiration Award at the regional competition, advancing to the state championship. So first, let me introduce your coaches, Matt LeBlanc and Brian Trapp. And again, coaches, we're going to put you on the spot. Would you like to say something about your squad?
So Crown Point is lucky enough to support two completely different robotics leagues. We're one of only about 4 or 5 high schools in the entire state that's able to do that. And not everyone's here, obviously. It's normally a bigger group. We had some leave for college, just like we have with Vex, and then just some couldn't be here today. But this team, we've worked real hard over the last few years, and state has been something that has been something we've been trying to accomplish but hadn't quite made it. And this year or last year, they were finally able to get through with the Engineering Inspiration Award, which is really an award given for the entire program. So it's based on bot performance at the competitions, but it's also based on they make their own business plans, they do their own scouting, they go out and do their own fundraising and all that kind of stuff. And so they have to put all that together, kind of like entrepreneurship, running a small business, but their robotics team. And with the help of our mentors, they did a really good job, put it together. And so there are 64 teams at a regional. And so, they only give one of those awards. So very, very proud of them.
Thank you, Coach. That was great words, great accomplishment. I'm going to go through them anyway, Coach. Okay. Logan Knapp. Too bad that had $500 in it, just saying. Riley Schuler. He's at college. Sean O'Keefe. Brendan Severa. Autumn Frizza. Tyler Kennison. Savannah Laud. Kevin Werner. Brendan McBride. James Cratched. Noah De La Paz. Who do I have left? Liam. Brianna Johnson, yes. Okay. Thank you. Congratulations again. Let me give these to you. Great job, Coach. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, I have the honor of presenting the next commendation this evening, the Crown Point High School Excalibur yearbook. Can we bring him in, please? Hi, how are you? Have them all? Good? All right. So this accommodation goes to the Crown Point High School Excalibur yearbook for receiving the first place Rowena Harvey Award for Academics in Division III at the Indiana High School Press Association state competition. I would like to read your accommodation, and then we'll talk about the team and how you did. The Crown Point Board of School Trustees is honored to commend the Crown Point High School Excalibur yearbook for meritorious achievement. Be it hereby resolved that the Board of School Trustees for the Crown Point Community School Corporation wishes to express sincere congratulations to the Crown Point High School Excalibur yearbook staff for receiving the first place Rowena Harvey Award from the Indiana High School Press Association at the state competition. The Board of School Trustees publicly recognizes this achievement and renders it permanently to its minutes to be preserved for public posterity this 26th day of August 2024. Congratulations to each and all of you. I know how much work that takes. I used to be a writer myself long ago for the newspaper, so I always appreciate these types of honors and awards. Coach, can we congratulate Miss Lisa Keene first? And I think there's going to be some questions because I have some myself. What is the Rowena Harvey Award for academics? What does that mean for Crown Point schools? And if you could share a little bit about how we arrived here.
Indiana High School Press Association, we're part of it, and we are actually part of the board. We've been involved in this for many years, and so we have a history of excellence at Crown Point High School with the Excalibur yearbook. So the Harvey Awards are the highest awards you can win in the state for individual pieces of the yearbook, and then they have another one that's like overall. But this one is more recent, so they almost work a year behind by the time you get to the yearbook. So we go down to the state, we take the students down to IU so that they can tour their journalism, and then we go to Franklin College where they have the competitions and they have the different sessions. So it's kind of like a mini version of our national convention, so that the students get to see all the different aspects of journalism that they can get involved in. There's writing, photography, technology, design, and I think the most important is leadership. So we've got a lot of good leaders here.
That's excellent. And you pointed out that there's been a long tradition of awards and accolades for our students through the Excalibur yearbook. And I got to tell you, of a father of 2 students last year at the high school, I saw that yearbook, and it was excellent. So well done, and
Thank you.
congratulations.
Thank you. We did bring 2 in case anybody here wanted to see them. We did bring 2 just to leave if anybody would like to check them out.
Fantastic. Is there anything else you would like to say before I present
thank
your
you.
awards? All right. I'm going to call your name. If you come forward, I'll present your award to you. Samantha Urin, is that correct? Urin? Samantha?
You know what, she couldn't make it.
No problem. Raquel Ruffin? Ariana Romo? Aiden Nowak? Adil Khan? Vivian King? Lucille King? Addison Gregan? Brooklyn Gargano? Abigail Conway? McKenna Carmichael? Elise Anderson? No, she's not here. I know Elise. And Elise, oh, Miss King. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. If you all would remain, I think they're going to want to get a photo of you and a picture. But congratulations again. Well done. All right.
If we could have our Crown Point High School Inklings individuals please come in. Inklings is first there, Mr. Goff. You're last tonight. Yeah, just relax. Good evening. Good. I will go ahead and read the accommodation award first. Resolution of commendation. The Crown Point Board of School Trustees is honored to commend the Crown Point High School Inklings News Magazine for meritorious achievement. Be it hereby resolved that the Board of School Trustees for the Crown Point Community School Corporation wishes to express sincere congratulations to the Crown Point High School Inklings News Magazine staff for receiving the 2022-2023 Hoosier Star, the state's highest recognition from the Indiana High School Press Association at the state competition. The Board of School Trustees publicly recognizes this achievement and renders it permanently to its minutes to be preserved for public posterity dated this 26th day of August, 2024. Congratulations. Our sponsor is Jennifer Bianchi. I have Jennifer, a few words about it? Sure. I need you to come to the mic, otherwise I get yelled at by Brian Gill. Okay, because people can't hear if they're online.
I gotcha. So we have a lovely small staff. This has been a fun couple of years, and one of my first years here, we actually won the Hoosier Star Award, and that Hoosier Star Award is a competition. It's an annual competition by the Indiana High School Press Association, whereby we are evaluated and critiqued and sort of moved on. And we are critiqued in all of our writing, our news articles, our opinion pieces, our arts and entertainment, our news, our local, our national, our state news. And we were recognized. In order to move on in this competition, you have to be rated either superior or excellent, and then you're moved on to the second round. And so in that second round, we actually won the actual Hoosier Star Award. So this is quite an honor for a tight, small staff because they work their tails off. They do a fantastic job, and obviously they did because they won state, and that's it.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Ashley Johnson. Annabella Angaroni. Come close. Katie Maley. Molly. Katie, congratulations. Avery Moore. Mason Urbini. And we'll announce these names. Abgeline Montanez. Evangeline, sorry. Melanie Velasquez. Mayray Wallace. Correct. And your own Jennifer Bianchi. Jennifer, congratulations. We'll get a picture, and then if you could take these with you, please. Sure. Yeah, thank you. Oh, parents, stay. All right. Our own Crown Point High School Crowntown Media News, come on in. Good, how are you? Oh, you got to come on down. Let's go. Resolution of commendation. The Crown Point Board of School Trustees is honored to commend the Crown Point High School Crowntown Media for meritorious achievement. Be it hereby resolved that the Board of School Trustees of the Crown Point Community School Corporation wishes to express sincere congratulations to the Crown Point High School Crowntown Media website staff for receiving the 2022-2023 Hoosier Star Award, the state's highest recognition from the Indiana High School Press Association. The Board of School Trustees publicly recognizes this achievement and renders it permanently to its minutes to be preserved for public posterity, dated this 26th day of August, 2024. Congratulations. Mr. Gloff, a few words? Thank you.
We win lots of state and national awards, and I'm proud of all of those. But this is one of the awards that I'm most proud of because it's the result of about 10 years worth of work and the complete support of the CPCSC and our administrators over at CPHS. We visited Annenberg School of Journalism at the University of Southern California about 10 years ago, and they were really heavily pushing this idea of converged media, print, magazine, television, radio, all together. And we didn't know what that looked like. And when we started looking at other schools' websites, there was a newspaper website and there was a yearbook website, but nobody was doing this idea of converged media. And so we decided, we put an idea together. We took it to Mr. Marcinek, our principal over at CPHS. He took it to Mr. Gianfermi, who then approved it and got us in touch with a company to help us build this website. And it is a monster, and it is a huge undertaking by all three staffs, yearbook, newspaper, and our radio and television program. And in our first year of actually getting it finished and out there for publication, we were named the top-ranked website in the state of Indiana. So I'm really excited about this moving forward, and with our new facilities and the work that we're doing as a combination staff now, this idea that we are a converged media program under the umbrella of Crowntown Media. Super proud of our students and of our staff and of our colleagues and of the people that have supported us throughout this process.
Thank you, Mr. Gloff. Why don't, Mr. Gloff, will you announce the names and I'll hand the certificate? Yep. This way I don't butcher any of these names.
Hey, you got it. I know who's here and who. Okay. Ashley Johnson. Annabella Angerone. Katie Mao. Avery Moore. Mason Urbini. Evangeline Montañez. Melanie Velasquez. Mayray Wallace. Elise Anderson. McKenna Carmichael. Abigail Conway. Brooklyn Garano. Addison Gregan. Lucy Keene. Vivian King. Adil Khan. Aiden Nowak. Ariana Romo. Raquel Ruffin. Samantha Urin. Jen Bianchi. Lisa Keene. And Brent Barber.
We cannot forget Mr. Chris Gloff, obviously.
Thank
Congratulations.
you. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it very much.
All right, at this time, if I could please have a motion to suspend our regular meeting and open the public hearing regarding the disposition of real property.
So moved?
Second. Motion by Ms. Basin, second by Mr. Smith. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries 4-0. Disposition 3.02 of real property. Mr. Reese.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. Tonight's public hearing is in regard to the sale of some real property that we own. This is the property that is the old administration building at 200 East North Street. Tonight is here to hear public comment regarding the sale of that property. What will take place next is a notice of sale will be placed into the legal ads. I will also be contacting those who have already expressed some interest in the building to find out their interest moving forward and what the timetable will look like. We have a few things we need to get settled with our board attorney in regards to the sale of the property, some terms and conditions that we'll work through with her. And once we have those done, we'll get that notice published, and that'll start our period. At this point, looks probably like a maximum of 60 days to receive bids regarding that property. It's pretty much done similar to a bid as you would if we're buying items. In this case, we're receiving bids for somebody to buy the item from us. So at that point, then we'll bring that sale to you for the highest and best bidder that meets the terms and conditions. So with that, that ends any questions you might have for me at this point regarding this process.
Any questions for Mr. Reese?
I do. Do you know approximately, Mr. Reese, how many parties are interested at this point?
We had initial contact from 5. We've already reached out to 3 of those groups or organizations, if you will. At this point, they don't have any interest in buying the property. So that's why we're to this point of holding the public hearing to receive bids on selling the property.
Thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions? Moving on to 3.03, the patrons' comments on the public hearing. On those, there was nobody signed up for that. So 3.04, motion to close the public hearing and resume the regular meeting. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Motion by Mr. Vassar, second by Ms. Basin. Questions or discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries 4-0. Item 4 now on the regular agenda, patrons registered to comment on educational issues. We have 4 individuals signed up this evening. I will call your name if you could please come to the microphone. You each get 3 minutes to speak. Mr. Smith will be our timer. Once again, this is on educational issues or regarding education. Please keep any names, students, anything like that out of there. Mr. Smith will give you a warning in about 2 minutes and 30 seconds, just to let you know you're getting close. And the first one on that list tonight is Tori Murphy.
I just took some notes, so I'll keep myself on track. But I'm a mom of 4. I have 2 Crown Point High School graduates, 2021, 2024. I have a high school sophomore, and then I have a 2nd grader that attends Solon Robinson. We love Crown Point. We moved here for the school specifically. That's why we live here. My son attended Eisenhower for kindergarten, and we were redistricted to Solon last school year. When we came to the open house last year, we were very surprised by the level of construction that was happening, but did realize the need for improvements. The second day of school, my son was sent home with pink eye. We, of course, took him to the doctor. About a week later, he was sent home again with pink eye. And this was before, very healthy child. He's never had any health issues, no asthma, like allergic to dogs. That's pretty much the extent of his health issues. But multiple times last year, he was sick with what seemed allergy-related symptoms. He had strep throat once, bronchitis twice. He had to begin using an inhaler twice a day. He has wheezing, and he's been to the doctor multiple times in the last year for these symptoms. I kept thinking to myself last year, he's been really sick. This is such unusual and just not compared to my other children who really are healthy kids. It was just a very unusual year with how sick he was. When I walked into the school this year for the open house, my heart instantly sank. I was honestly just shocked at the condition of the school was in. I saw not only it just didn't seem like there had been any improvement. Not only was there not improvement, the building actually looked worse this school year than it had last school year. There's no floors, there's no ceilings, there's wires hanging in the building, there's no lunchroom, there's no hot lunch. My son got a hot lunch last week. One day he wanted a hot lunch, and they actually gave him a Lunchable. So there's no hot lunches being served this year at school. Part of the building has no running water. There's no drinking fountains. So if your child is not to bring a water bottle to school, then there's nothing to drink for the day. There's no roof. I literally looked up while I was standing outside of his classroom and could see the sky. There's no playground. This is no condition for any student to be attending school. I literally felt sick to my stomach. Now, with little to no opportunity to make other arrangements for the school year, I honestly was mad. Why Crown Point School, have you not planned this better? This is not a renovation a contained portion of the school. This is a full-blown construction gut job that you have asked me to send my child to 5 days a week, 7 hours a day, every day for the next 5,200 and however many days of school there is. On the third day of school, my son instantly started complaining of his throat was hurting, eyes itching, his neck is hurting. I'm just not sure how in good conscience I can continue to send my child to school. And I feel like I have little to no choices at this point. I just would like to ask you all, have you walked through the school? Have you seen the conditions of Solon? Please, go walk through and see. Not only is this somewhere that you would not want to go to work every day and work 5 days a week, 7 hours a day, but you're asking me to send my child there.
Unfortunately, I have to cut you off at this point.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Next on tonight's list is Jenna Frey.
Hi. As you said, my name is Jenna, and I am also here about the issues at Solon. I have a third grader and a second grader there, and more children who will be coming through the school. Let me just start by saying I have heard over and over and over again that every school is under construction. And to that I laugh. If you were to go to Eisenhower during the construction, as we did, and see what their construction looked like in the nice sealed off way and the very clean air quality, it's nothing compared to what we're going through at Solon. Currently at Solon, they are tearing the school down around our children. As Tori has mentioned, we don't have a roof. We don't have a playground. We don't have a cafeteria. We're using our gymnasium as a cafeteria, so we don't have a gym either. We have no outlet for our children to take a break from the day. I share a lot of the concerns that many people do. I have a severely asthmatic daughter who has been to multiple pulmonologist appointments. She has had pneumonia. We have been through all of these things. I also have a son who is healthier than most anybody in this room who experienced multiple issues last year too. If we separate from the construction issue and the issue of the air quality that everyone is harping on, I just want to know how we expect our children to thrive in an environment that most adults would not thrive in. Would you guys like to be in a construction zone 35 hours a day while the walls are being hammered and the roofs are being fixed around you? Would you like to be expected to thrive in that environment? Would you like to test in that? Would you like to eat in that? This is what our children are going through. And I'm sure your answer to those questions are no, and I'm also very sure you're far older than 7. I have no anger. This is a school that I wanted to be in. This is a district I was proud to come into. But here at Solon, we're starting to feel forgotten. I'm not feeling like anybody's listening. I'm not feeling like anyone's communicating. And quite frankly, I feel like I'm sending my child into a war zone that I wouldn't even allow them to live in. If I was doing this level of construction in my own home, insurance companies would be paying to house us in a hotel. This is not safe. This is not okay. The lack of communication from Crown Point Community School System, in my opinion, only further exacerbates this issue. I'm not a fan of complaining without suggesting solutions, so some of the things I'm wondering is, have we considered looking at classroom pods for children to be housed outside of these schools? This is something Griffith Public Schools did with success. As much as I hate to say the word, have we considered e-learning until these are more acceptable conditions? And I hate e-learning more than anybody. Like everybody else, I'm looking for information and I'm looking for real solutions as opposed to the scripted responses that I feel I get when I contact members of the school board. How are we protecting my children and all of the children at Solon?
Thank you. Next, Lauren Carney.
Good evening. I am going to kind of mirror what they're saying, but I have to read from it. You give me my classroom of second graders, I can talk to them, but talking to adults is just, whew, so I wrote it down. All right, so anyways, good evening. I just want to address the same concerns about the state of Solon Elementary School, where both of my children currently attend. I will say, first, I'm extremely appreciative that what is to come of Solon Elementary. It was long overdue and very much needed. We were a family that too was affected by the redistricting last year. We were removed from Eisenhower, placed at Solon, and I was very extremely underwhelmed the first time I stepped foot in that building. And I was shocked to see that Solon had been neglected in regards to compared to Eisenhower for so long. So to hear that it was going to be rectified with construction and all the things that they promoted that was going to happen, awesome. I was really excited. Because after all, we are all part of the same school corporation, and I think every school should be equal. My concerns that I'm hoping will be addressed are the continued construction conditions that take place day in and day out. I feel that every student and faculty member deserves a safe and conducive learning environment, and that simply is just not the case currently. There are open walls in the ceiling, in this side that you can see out. It's a safety hazard. My kid used to be a runner. It worries me. So it just should not be that way with a piece of like, it looked like blue painter's tape when I walked by that came right here, and all of their equipment everywhere. The amount of dust and haze in the areas you walked was overwhelming. There's no carpet, and I know it's coming, but in the meantime, like, that would help definitely with the amount of dust. Not to mention the lack of playground, cafeteria, and gym, and more functioning bathrooms, as was mentioned before. Every square foot of that building is under construction. It's not being done in stages, and if it is, I failed to see that when I was there on back to school night. I truly believe that if you drive by that building, people would not think that school would be in session. Both of my children have suffered because of this continued construction that takes place around them, and I received a call on day 3 from the school nurse that my child had a sore throat and itchy eyes, and he had visited twice. Let's see, I'm trying to be quick. This was a trend that also occurred last year with my son, specifically itchy eyes, sore throat, lots of doctor's appointments, upping his allergy meds with no results. Constant complaints of headaches and things like that, and a lingering cough. I'm hoping that we can be provided with some solutions to these safety concerns that we have. Please know that I understand the amount of work that needs to be done, and the process could be delayed, and it just takes time. It's a huge job. It's expected. But what can we do in the meantime? Do we just have students suffer and have them take it for the team? Or can we bring in portables? Should we utilize distance learning? Or can we utilize other empty school classrooms? I don't know what the answer is, but I hope that we can figure something out in the meantime. Thank you.
Thank you. Melissa Habecker, is that correct?
My name's Melissa Habecker. I did not come here expecting to speak, so I really do not have anything prepared. I am a mother of a child that was extremely sick last year. She started the year off on no medication. By the end of the year, she was on 2 allergy medications, 2 inhalers, cough medicine daily, Dayquil, NyQuil, probably every day, antibiotics monthly, every 2 weeks it was something new. She was hospitalized in and out. She was diagnosed with, they ended up saying it was Kawasaki disease, so, which is very rare. I don't know if anybody knows what that is. She was 6 at the time. Kawasaki is 1 in 10,000 children in the United States have it. It's very rare, mostly males. She's female, under the age of 5. She was 6. and Asian descent. We have no Asian descent. I did the 23andMe. I have 0 Asian. Either does my husband, so she has none of that. And somehow she ended up getting what they think is Kawasaki. It took 12 days to diagnose her with this. She had 102.8 fever for 12 days. Her eyes, the whites of her eyes were as red as your shirt. There was no white in her eyes. Her lymph nodes in her neck were 5 times the size they should be. She had a rash that would come and go. She had pains she couldn't explain. She's an energetic child that's in gymnastics and dance and is on her head watching TV. She's a very energetic, free spirit. And all I could do was hold her, and she slept for 12 days. She was finally given an infusion, an IVIG infusion, which they finally had to get this Kawasaki disease, which is autoimmune. Basically, her body had built up all these infections and all this pollutants over this time. This was in February 1st is when she had, that's me and my husband's birthday. We have the same birthday as when she had her infusion.
30 seconds.
So all of these pollutants, and I have built up these infections and caused her body to attack her own body. We've had 12 doctors on our team working with us. There's other kids in the school that have been hospitalized. I found out recently, kids with blood work that have high lead. There's kids that have so many bizarre issues in the ER where doctors can't figure out why their kids think they're poisoned. You know, they're asking them why they're poisoned, and these are all kids that went to Solon last year. I'm just asking you to please think of the kids. I'm not saying that the kids are getting sick just because they're going to the school, but it's definitely irritating it and making it more severe.
Thank you. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Terrell, and we're going to address some of these concerns.
Let me first begin by thanking you all for showing up tonight and sharing your concerns. Please know that we do not take the health of your children, our children, for granted or lightly. At this time, though, I'm going to ask Mike Mulaski, our Director of Buildings and Grounds, to come to the podium along with Dion Casors, who is Vice President at Skillman and is overseeing our construction project. Just a few things that I want to address while they're coming here. It was mentioned that Solon feels like they've been left out, they've been left behind. I want to assure you that they're the 4th major construction project that we've had at an elementary school. So Eisenhower was mentioned, Jerry Ross would be similar, that were both the 2 who were very minor in their construction. Winfield went under this level, Timothy Ball, MacArthur all went underneath the same level of construction that we're currently seeing at Solon. All of that took place because of what we're doing. Some of that has to take place during the school year with the students in the building. Safety that concerns were mentioned as far as drinking fountains. We've gone to bottle fillers in all of our elementary schools since COVID. That was a move that we made, so it has nothing to do with what's happening currently. As far as construction and not seeing, yeah, if you drive up outside, it does. It looks like a major construction zone, absolutely. Inside, though, the classrooms have been, most of the classrooms have been completed and are new. The ones that aren't are not being used right now. Hallways, concrete floors, the grid is open because we continue to work on wiring and different things there. Everything has been passed and checked by the fire marshal to make sure that everything is as it should be. Is it ideal? Absolutely not ideal. Is it doable? Yes, ma'am, it is. Very doable. So at this time, though, I'm going to ask Dion if you would start by just giving us kind of a scope of where we started and what the plan is. And then once he gets through that, Mike, if you can talk just a little bit about air quality, what we do on a regular basis, but then what additionally we're doing even at Solon. So, Dion?
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Terrell. As the administration and board work to develop a project of this size, we go through and evaluate a phasing plan, because we know we can't do all the additions at once, and we know we can't renovate the entire building at once, okay? So if you were to walk through MacArthur and Timothy Ball last year at this time, they were actually, I would say that Solon is probably in better condition than both of those buildings were at this time last year. It's a phased approach. We are, believe it or not, when you go and look at the schedule, when we bid the project, we are ahead in some areas. I heard some comments as far as completion of like the cafeteria and the kitchen space. So that's actually, the cafeteria space is gonna be turned over around mid to late September. We originally were on target to complete that around fall break, so that's gonna be accelerated. The other option, working with the administration in the building, was to have kids in the individual classrooms, but as far as serving the lunches, the cafeteria was the best space at the time. When you walk through the corridors, there were comments made about cleanliness. Those floors are swept daily, they're mopped, there's a sweeping compound that's used. I'd also like to mention about the air handling unit. I know that Mike's gonna discuss indoor air quality. There's only one air handling unit that's on the cafeteria. It feeds that space. Each individual classroom around the entire building, take it like your house. It's like you have a furnace and a condenser. It's one individual unit that serves each room. The filters were replaced before the start of the school year, and then there's regular maintenance, no different than you would replace the filters in your home. So I wanted to point that out as well. It's very typical to have the exposed ceilings and the flooring. We did hear comments about the concrete being bare, just so everyone's aware. We did expedite that work as well. As a matter of fact, some of the carpet in the corridors, the corridor that's on the north side, which would be Wells Street, that runs east and west, that's the main corridor. I believe there are 10 to 12 classrooms in that space. All that carpet will be laid by the end of this week, and the ceiling tile will be replaced as well. There will be some ceiling tiles left open just because the fire marshal still wants to walk through and perform his final inspections, but once he does that, those areas will be turned over 100% as well. So we understand it's a phased approach. It's very common. You couldn't do the project like this over an entire summer, for example. You know, the only way you could do it is if you maybe, vacated the building. I've had that happen one time in my career. We hit a building hard for about 9 months, but it's a phased approach. There was a roofer strike that impacted us by about 3 weeks as well. Overall completion, just so everyone's aware, I've heard comments that completion was anticipated December of 2025. That's not true. The overall completion is actually going to be March of 2025, which is spring break. You're going to start seeing around the exterior, the perimeter of the building, the landscaping being completed as well. More than likely will be completed by end of next week. Unfortunately, this week with the extreme temperatures, it's just not ideal to plant seed and grade and things like that. So playgrounds, I understand there's been frustrations. It's the same contractor that's been installing the playgrounds. They've been moving from Lake Street to Jerry Ross to Solon. The playground in Solon will be complete around October 3rd. I will say, I have to say this, I have a 9-year-old fourth grader that attends that building. So I would not put her in harm's way. Did I touch on some of the things you wanted me to touch on, Dr. Terrell?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Mike?
Thank you. I think that as we move forward with this project, we don't ever say we're making the best of a bad situation. We're making the best of just a transitioning situation. As we started the school year, and I want to take my angle from a cleanliness standpoint in the buildings and grounds side of things, I've been through this 6 times in other buildings. I knew that there was going to be some dust, that there was going to be hot temperatures like we had today. And as we move forward, we started the school year with brand new filters in all of the classrooms. We are checking and monitoring those as we go. I think the addition of carpeting is going to make a huge difference. And even by the end of this week, there's going to be a major change as people will see what we have in that building. Sweeping and mopping those concrete floors does cause a little bit more of dust to be created, whereas the carpeting seems to will absorb it a little bit more. We have thrown extra staff, custodial staff, to try and mitigate some of these circumstances. As I walked that building today on 2 separate occasions, the hallways were clear and clean, and There was nothing that caused anything with eye irritation for me or anything like that. And I really feel like we're transitioning forward, and there are going to be major changes. Even within the next 2 weeks, they're going to make things better for kids in that capacity. I understand, and I spoke with several people that spoke here today and had very nice and healthy conversations with some of the speakers here tonight. I have given them access to my direct line, that if they have trouble or issues, that they can call me. I was there today, and I can be there from my office in 3 minutes. And I want to be transparent and open with families that need our help. So thank you.
Mike, if you could talk a little bit about how do we monitor the quality of air within the
Thank you.
buildings?
Yes, I'm sorry about that. So in our HVAC system, we constantly are moving air and bringing in fresh air into the building. It's required of us. As we do that, the air that we're bringing in from the outside and the filtration that we use and the air filters that we use, not everything gets caught. Right now, these conditions outside with certain allergies, I've got it in my eyes now. Certain allergies that we face at this time of year is certainly not the same as we'll see in October or March. But as we monitor the air filtration, we monitor the oxygen that we bring into the classrooms, the carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, relative humidity, and obviously the temperature. With what sort of was happening here, and this situation started to begin to boil on Friday, we immediately, myself and Dion, jumped into action, and we're doing an indoor air quality test. It's going on currently. We expect to have the results sometime on Wednesday evening, and then we will be sharing those results when we receive them.
Can I add something to that?
Yeah.
I'd also like to add, this isn't just the one time we're taking this indoor air quality test. All these reports have all the air testing in them and the clearances. If we don't receive the clearance from the environmental consultants, nobody can be in those spaces. Not students, not staff, not me, not anyone. So it's a process and the original evaluation took place on May of '22. So well in advance of even starting any construction in the space in the buildings. And I would also like to add, there was a comment made about the cafeteria and its overall completion. I don't know if I touched on it, but we're targeting around November instead of end of December now. So believe me, I hear from my daughter all the time that she doesn't get a hot lunch.
So along those lines, I'd also like to mention that that's not unique to Solon. Every building that we've gone in and redone their cafeteria has gone through that same process as well. We obviously try to get through that as quickly as we can, but that is one of the things that happens with redoing an entire kitchen, enlarging the cafeteria with that. Also, as a result of all the current construction concerns that have been expressed, we have contracted with an independent group to come in and evaluate our air. Deanne, could you speak to that just a little bit?
Yes, they set up monitors. They actually set those up at 1 o'clock today. They'll have the results by the end of day tomorrow. And like Mike had mentioned, the results will be submitted to us by Wednesday. And that's going to be additional verification above and beyond the verification that's already been taking place since we started construction in March of '23. So they take sampling. Sometimes it's a long-term sampling. Sometimes it's a brief sampling. But it's in random areas throughout the building, just to provide that additional reassurance.
Thank you. The other thing that I'd like to just mention briefly, it was brought up, have we been in the building? I can assure you that I am in that building on a regular basis. We're on day 9. I've been in there at least 4 times since the school year started. Continuing to monitor, just trying to look and see what's going on. Are there noises that are too loud? I was there the first day, and there was work outside as students were coming and walking, and parents were riding bikes up with kids. And we asked them to stop, and they've been very agreeable and good to work with about stopping noise in certain areas if there's something that's going on, changing their schedules. So we do appreciate that. I can tell you that in talking with others who have gone through this, once they see the finished product, it's going to be an unbelievable space, and it'll be as nice as anything else in our corporation and definitely throughout Northwest Indiana. That does not alleviate the concerns that all of you have, and I understand that. And again, we'll continue to work in that way. When we get these reports, we'll be more than happy to share those with you, to publish those. And I can assure you that if there are concerns that come out of those reports, we will address those and deal with them as quickly and efficiently as we can. So with that, I'll entertain questions that board members may have.
And I'd also just like to state from a board perspective, we do have your child's safety and concerns utmost. We're to educate them and keep them safe in our environments. The lines of communication, obviously Barb would be first, the principal, and then Dr. Nick Shakina, our Director of Elementary Education. His lines of communication, whether it be email, call central office here, are open as well. So I just want to make sure that you can get the answers you need to get. It might not always be the ones you want to receive, but I think a lot of this information could help you at least rest a little. Once again, we don't want any kid getting sick, so we're doing our best of our ability to make sure that doesn't happen.
Yes, Dion, did I cut you off? I'm sorry. The independent crew that's coming in to put the monitors up today, is their system the same as our system that we use to test the air?
It's even better.
Which one's even better?
Their system takes on more particles,
Uh-huh.
so it'll give you a more accurate reading. Their system is accurate as well. I'm not sure if yours is placed within the units or for indoor air quality reading.
Well, what we're getting out of America is much more in depth than what they're testing for than what we monitor on a daily basis.
Yeah, that was my question. So it's not the same type of,
No.
Correct.
okay.
This is what they do, so this is their specialty. So it is more in-depth for
Correct.
sure.
I have two questions, I guess, two parts. Number one, we've heard from concerned parents tonight. Has that, Dr. Terrell's probably directed to you, have the concerns been focused around certain age groups or certain classrooms, or is it just, I don't know the ages of all the children, so, or is it just generally some of the concerns are just spread out throughout the building in general?
I would say, I don't know that right offhand. I would say it's probably spread out throughout the entire building, but I couldn't speak to that.
Okay. And then the second question I had is, I think there was some discussion about security and safety as far as the walls and the openness goes. Do we have a time frame for when those types of issues would be fixed? I don't think I heard anybody speak on that.
I will say, I heard comments about like roofs being opened up. The only roof when you walk through the building that's open right now is in the cafeteria and kitchen space. And actually where the new administration wing is being completed, which will be completed by the end of this December. That's the addition that's located on the northwest corner of the site. That's as the building's being tied into the existing building. What I will say is there are no occupied spaces where there's not a roof, where it's not weather tight. We wouldn't allow it. We wouldn't allow any students or staff members to be in a space that's not weather tight, okay? We walk the building regularly. We have a site manager that's on site, every single day. So Mike's usually pretty good as far as communicating with us, and Dr. Terrell as well, if there are concerns. Now, there are barricades that separate the construction areas from occupied areas, I'll say, and we make sure to try to create a separation between contractors and students. Now, from time to time, you will still have contractors maybe going down the corridor to wire up a fire alarm. For example, tonight, when the building's unoccupied, that's when some of the carpet will be laid. But again, we can demonstrate per the schedule, we're actually ahead in some of these areas. Mr. Smith, you asked the question as far as what areas are impacted for students. That north corridor that runs east and west along Wells Street, I know that there are at least 3 different grade levels. I know they're making do with what they can. I believe there's first and second and maybe a few 4th grade classrooms. But again, by the end of this week, that entire corridor will be complete, with the exception of some ceiling tiles like I had mentioned. What'll be left to be completed is actually wall covering finishes.
Deanne, I've got one quick question for you.
Yes.
I know, so my children are at T-ball, and last year we kind of went through the same thing. So at open house, we came through and had a lot of those similar things that you guys have mentioned. And they used a lot last year, and then we also saw when we toured the high school last year, a lot of the plywood walls with the doors that are made that have kind of the locks. Are we using that same method to make sure we keep areas secure at Solon this year?
Yes, we are.
Okay, thank you.
One other thing I'd mention too, I know there was a concern about recess. So one of the things that you can't see is in the middle of that building, the courtyard has all new concrete, rubber mulch that's going around it as well. So they are utilizing that as well as the park across the street for a lot of recess, but also for PE classes at different times too. So, again, they're trying to make the best of a not ideal situation, so.
If I can add one comment, when it comes to phase construction, the process is typically you put an addition on first, and that's what we did. We put the classroom addition on, because at a building that's pretty, I don't want to say pretty close to capacity, but you want to create an opportunity for contractors to be able to get in either 4 to 6 classrooms at a time. Like this summer, we were able to get into 8 classrooms, renovate them, but then what's left is the corridor work that's going to be completed over the next week. So you try to gain as much real estate as possible, and that's why you typically do the additions. Spazen, you brought up Timothy Ball. We did that addition on the far west end first, shifted students into that space. We were able to occupy some of the existing building and renovate those spaces. And then you kind of end up doing the hopscotch throughout the process.
So Dion, when they do these tests, these air quality tests, one of the parents, I can't remember which one of you, had mentioned about lead. Well, lead's not an airborne particle.
No, but we will be testing for that.
Okay, and how is that done?
I can't give you the exact definition, but I spoke with a gentleman named Zach today at Americo, and we will be supplying test samples for that within the air.
Within the air?
Yes. That'll be on Wednesday. That was one of the
Yeah.
concerns for the parents, and we wanted to alleviate that.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Brooke, how soon is the meeting, after the meeting's over tonight, is it online available? Okay, so if parents, those of you that have, others that have these concerns and can't catch every detail, if you would pass that along, that they can access the taping of this meeting later on tonight.
Can I ask a question? Is that allowed?
Not really, but if you want to stick around, you can ask any of us when the meeting's over.
Okay, I'll wait, it's not, it was.
You know what, based on the circumstance, I'll allow this in this opportunity.
Okay, you had mentioned how, someone had mentioned the ceiling being open. I just noticed on like, let me think of my direction, so the east wall, like where the old playground was, so whatever, that's the east side, right? Yeah. It was open, like you can see out, you can see the sky, you can see everything. And while there wasn't a door there, like it just, the roof wasn't, I don't know if it's the roof, if it's the,
Canopy.
yes, thank you. I don't know those terms, but, so like a tornado came through or like a microburst this summer, but if it's still open, I guess, how safe is that? Like if there's inclement weather and that's an open space for the kids to walk through?
Was it open after August 14th?
It was back to school, yes, that's the first thing, my son was like, oh my gosh, it's outside, and I was like, oh, I was like, you're right, I took a picture just because that's what worried me,
Okay.
you know, so
I'll
I
take a
was
look
just.
at that. I was unaware, but I'll take a look at that and we'll make sure he does it.
Okay.
August 14th was the first day for students, so it may have been that night when
Okay.
we had the back-to-school
Got it.
night, yes. So,
Dr.
yep.
Terrell, can I ask one more quick question? Just to
Absolutely.
clarify about so I know that we have moved away from the water fountains to the bottle refill stations. Are those available at Solon as we sit today?
The bottle refill stations?
Bottle refill
Yes.
stations? Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Throughout-
They're all
throughout the
fully
building.
functional, every one.
And that was one other part, was there's a part of the building that does not have water. There's a part where there are restrooms that are still being renovated, but all the building that's occupied has water. So,
All right.
good, thank you guys.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Appreciate it.
And thank you, parents. Item 5 tonight is the consent agenda. Dr. Terrell?
Thank you. For your consideration this evening, we have the executive session minutes from 7:29, the regular business meeting minutes from 7:29 as well. 5.02, our personnel agenda. 5.03, the recommendation of employment of candidates. And then 5.04, the voucher registered checks as listed.
You've heard the recommendation of the administration for approval of the consent agenda. May I have a motion?
Second?
Motion by Mr. Smith, second by Ms. Basin. Questions or discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Action item 6.01, approval to apply for and receive the Title I Part A Helping Disadvantaged Children Meet High Standards Grant. Mr. Hardman.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. Tonight I bring to you the annual Title I Part A grant. This year, our allocation is $649,955.22. Some highlights I just want to just share. You look at the information that is there. The first thing that kind of impacted our did add an English language teacher of record that we're paying for out of Title I. This helps to reduce the teacher to student ratio in that programming. So the schools that are being served, Colonel John Wheeler, Solon Robinson, MacArthur, and Timothy Ball, are all being supporting a first-year teacher of record for English language learners. So that impacts the programming of the schools. We try to reduce that impact, and if you notice where the amount of money at $10,026 for homeless transportation is substantially less, and also the indirect cost at this point in time we reduced to be able to reduce the impact on the Title I programming. I think it's important to note that these funds are allocated based on free and reduced lunch. If you look at the chart that is there, in 2024, the percentage that we use goes back to October 1st of 2023. It's 21.68 for the entire corporation. So to receive Title I funds, these schools need to be above that percentage, okay? And then there's an allocation per pupil that is allocated that comes up with those funding amounts. And this is in addition to. So always think that all these schools that are Title I, they get what every school gets. This money is in addition to. It's always supplemental. Okay, so it's important, I think, for us to understand that the way Title I does work. So this evening, seeking your approval to apply for and receive the funding of $649,955.22.
You've heard the recommendation of the administration for approval to apply for and receive funding from the Indiana Department of Education Title I Helping Disadvantaged Children Meet High Standards non-competitive grant in the amount of $649,955.22. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Motion by Mr. Smith, second by Ms. Basin. Question or discussion?
Mr. Hartman, one question. Would this be fair for me to analyze it this way, that you mentioned these free reduced rates? The three elementary schools that you have listed there, MacArthur, Solon Robinson, Timothy Ball, all feed into Colonel Wheeler. So that's a fair statement?
That is correct. Most of the students, because of where the line is drawn between Colonel Wheeler and Taft, most of the students of those schools do attend Colonel Wheeler.
Timothy Ball split.
Right. Okay.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries 4-0. 6.02, approval to apply for and receive grant funds from the Indiana Department of Education Robotics Competition Grant.
Yeah, thank you very much. First of all, I want to make a note that the grant amount that is listed here, $66,238. When this was submitted, after this was submitted, I found out that I realized that the high school teams, you saw many of the teams that were here, they have 8 teams, and where there's an allocation for the VEX tournament teams or the VEX teams that can only be $3,500. So when I finished up the grant and I noted that we were over that amount by a total of $814.47. So the actual amount of the grant that I'm seeking tonight is $65,423.53. And I don't know if that can be amended in some way as you go through this. But this is a grant, it's a competitive grant from the state of Indiana. It was $3.5 million that has been allocated, which is an increase from last year. And we are seeking to apply for $65,423.53. And this supports elementary, middle, and high school. As you can see, the allocation is going for kits and supplies as well as event registrations, which is an add from last year. We are picking up most of the event registration out of this grant this coming year. I think it's also important to note that a couple of the criteria that's important in this grant is that, first of all, they want to see that the robots that are designed go through a design process and they are modified and changed. It's not just pull a robot out of a box and put it together and then you play. competition. And then, but these are truly a design process that they go through. And that starts in the elementary school through the middle and to the high school. The second thing that is important for, there's two other things I'd point out, is that the question is, how do you build to the high school? How do you build this group of students coming out of the elementary to the middle? And you have to show that in the grant. And then the last thing that they ask for is you have to show a 25% in-kind contributions from your community. And I would point out to you that currently, based on the research working with our coaches, we are anticipating approximately $53,000 of in-kind contributions, donations to the program compared to $65,000 that we're asking for. So we have quite the community support for the robotics team. So this evening, seeking your approval to apply for and receive grant funding in the amount of $65,423.53.
Thank you, Mr. Hardman. You heard the recommendation of the administration to apply for and receive the Indiana Department of Education Robotics Competition grant funds of $65,423.53 for kits and supplies to maintain our elementary, middle, and high school robotics teams and registration fees to participate in local robotics competition. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second?
Motion by Mr. Smith, second by Ms. Basin. Questions or discussion?
Can this, as Mr. Hardman had requested, can this be amended to reflect the amount that Mr. Hardman mentioned?
Yeah, the motion was read with the new amount, so she'll just fix the document.
Okay.
Okay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. 6.03, policy updates and approval. Mr. Akiwa?
Thank you, Mr. President and board members. We have three policies that we're bringing to you this evening for approval. First is PO 3540, which is the Teacher Appreciation Grant, which needs to be submitted to the state so that we can receive those funds later this year and then distribute to our staff members that qualify. Also, PO 2623.01, Test Security and Provisions for Statewide Assessments Policy. We need that updated for the 24-25 school year. And Policy 1260, the Non-Discrimination and Equal Access to Education Policy, that will allow us to provide consistency between various discrimination reports and the processes to address them. So this evening, we're asking that we waive the readings and approve these for the 24-25 school year.
You've heard the recommendation of the administration for the waiving of the reading of policies 3540, 2623, number 1, and policy 1260, and approve them for the 2024-25 school year. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Basin, seconded by Mr. Vassar. Question or discussion?
Mr. Akiwa, are there any major changes to these at all when we did the update?
No, sir.
Okay.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you, Mr. Kiwa.
Thank you.
6.04, the 2024 bus bids. Mr. Reese?
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. In concert with our plan you approved last September and October for our 2024 budget with our bus replacement plan, we'd like to actually go through the process of purchasing those buses at this point. We utilize the CIESC, which is Essential Indiana Education Service Center cooperative purchasing for these buses. We do that with the statewide purchasing program. With that, we're requesting permission to approve 5 72-passenger buses, 3 42-passenger buses with wheelchair lifts, and 1 14-passenger SAV. With that, the total comes to Curlin for a total net cost of $1,278,823.
Thank you, Mr. Reese. You've heard the recommendation from the administration awarding the bus bids to the lowest overall bidder, Curlin Bus Sales, in the amount of $1,278,823 for 5 72-passenger buses, 3 42-passenger buses, and 1 14-passenger vehicle. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Vassar, seconded by Mr. Smith. Question or discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Reese, are these buses, I know we have a long-term plan where we turn over the buses. Are any of these additional, in addition to that long-term plan?
It's not really an addition to, it's a not going to trade in some buses we had planned to trade in and do it that way instead of buying So if you want to call it buying buses outside of replacement, not really. It's more of just not trading in the buses we had planned to trade in.
I have one quick question. Are these buses that we're purchasing, are the amenities on those in line with what we currently have or the direction that we've planned to go?
That's correct.
Thank you.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries 4-0. 6.05, the naming of the Crown Point High School baseball and softball fields. Mr. Reese.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. At the September 2022 board meeting, a donation was approved for the use of funds to significantly upgrade the baseball and softball fields at Crown Point High School. Those upgrades are now complete. In recognition of the significant financial contribution to this project, the name for the baseball field is to be the White Malley Field, and the softball field to be the Cynthia Field. With that, the administration recommends approval of those two names and waives the second meeting requirement according to Board Policy 7250.
You've heard the recommendation of the administration for approval to name the Crown Point High School baseball field the White Malley Field, the Crown Point High School softball field Cynthia Field, and waive the second meeting requirement. May I have a motion?
I move to approve the recommendation to waive the second reading requirement.
Second?
Motion by Mr. Smith, second by Ms. Basin. Question or discussion?
Yes, I have several questions. I don't want to go back and read the policy. I think we're all familiar with the policy 7250. In fact, we discussed that in a public work session approximately 1 month ago. We never did finish that discussion. That is still yet to be finished, by the way. I was not on the board in September of 2022, so I had to look up the meeting that was cited by Mr. Reese. He just read that to us for September, excuse me, September 26th of 2022 to approve a donation of $3 million. And that donation, according to the records here, were from Crown Point Athletic Boosters. So one of my questions is, if the donation that was approved by the board back then, it was approved by 4 of the 5 board members at that time, how did Athletic Boosters get moved to the 3 names that we're asking to name fields after?
Yeah, I'd be more than happy to explain that to you. So the donor, in giving that kind of money, wanted the tax benefits that goes with it. So our booster club is a 501(c), and so the donation went to them and then to us to be able to take advantage of those tax benefits. Mr. Reese, anything to add to that?
That's accurate.
Okay, thank you for that. So without using this person's name,
You can use his name. It is all public now.
okay. So if Mr. White donated this money,
He did.
a singular person, am I correct?
It began that way, and then it ended up that the White Foundation came alongside and wanted to partner with him. So they actually gave 1.5, and Chris White gave the other 1.5.
Okay. So by Mr. White and Mr. White's foundation. And so we're asking to be naming a field after Mr. White, who made an outstanding contribution, financial contribution. I don't know how anybody could say anything against this. But why are we naming facilities after 2 people? What contributions have they made?
So contributions that they've made, Cynthia White is his sister, and the White family and their contributions throughout not only our community, but Northwest Indiana, I think, rings through and through. John Maley worked here in Northwest Indiana with youth baseball, and Chris really felt like he wanted to give special consideration to that fact. And talking with some of those who have been around the area for a while and been involved in youth baseball, they said that indeed he was involved with it at the level. I can't speak to that tonight. I didn't come prepared to do that. But special consideration was given to Chris White in the fact that he was making this donation to let him submit the names for the field, not seeing any issues with those names, any issues meaning that They weren't upstanding individuals, citizens. Their reputations were good. There was no reason for us not to consider those and agree to that.
Okay, so based on Mr. White's generous contribution, I think this is setting a really bad precedent. To me, it's like, okay, if you have enough money, you can do whatever you want. You can name whatever you want. We have many schools in our district. None of them are named after anyone who's given a financial contribution. But because somebody comes up with $3 million, that person gets to call the shots on this. I don't know any of these folks at all personally, but I think we're setting a terrible precedent to do things like this. It's gonna come back and bite you down the road. Mr. Angel and I have had discussions about this on the side. I think we have a better plan for this, and I think this needs to be moved along so we can further discuss it before we vote on this.
I think in response, Mr. Vassar, the idea that buildings or facilities use name, you would apply someone's name to that for a generous donation, certainly could be discussed and should be discussed, but it's not abnormal. I mean, you're seeing more and more facilities and naming rights of stadiums and facilities because there is a financial contribution that benefits all students, that benefits your community. So my personal opinion is I would never draw a hard line against somebody or some corporation who wants to support our students. And if they want to come forward and be involved in the community and contribute to our sports programs, our extracurricular programs, our academic programs, I personally wouldn't be opposed to that. Now, we can talk about the process or what that looks like, but that's just my personal opinion. So, for me, I'd be prepared to vote on this tonight.
Well, I believe that this person should be recognized for his donation, but I do not believe that we should be naming facilities after people based upon something like this. I really, truly don't believe that.
Mr. Angel, is it worth reviewing for everybody what that policy currently states? I mean, to my understanding, the policy regarding naming facilities has been followed with the process of everything regarding this facility. In terms of moving forward, my understanding of the policy is that we will continue to have the ability to review every naming opportunity prior to it being officially named as a board. Is that correct?
Yeah, nothing's changed. Does anybody have that first line of the policy available? I think
do.
the first paragraph kind of covers.
First section of it says the board may consider a request to name the portion of the building a single building on a campus with multiple buildings or a specific area on the campus for a person, provided the proposed name has special significance and/or the person has made an outstanding contribution to the school system, or the community.
So ask that question you just asked, Danielle.
Well, it's my understanding that we have followed that process. I agree with the policy as written, not that we're voting on a policy to be amended today anyway, but to me, we followed the policy in place. We are using a name that we're deciding to use based on an outstanding contribution as written in the policy, so.
Well, the last question you asked is, the board gets to review each one and then give their approval before this is done.
Well, that's what we're doing right now.
This has already been done. Those plaques are already up there.
Correct. But in this specific case, there was, based on the timing of the events, this was scheduled for last meeting prior to his inaugural event there, or within that timeline. So,
What inaugural event? It's not baseball or softball season right now.
no, he just had his own dedication to it himself as part of the contribution.
Before it was even approved by the board.
Well, this had nothing to do with the signage, he just had a family event out there.
I think the other thing that's unique in this situation was when he came to us back in, I just got the date you gave, 2022. At that point in time, he wanted to remain anonymous for as long as he could. The understanding with the board was that he would give input on the naming of it, and we agreed with the approval of what those names would be.
Yeah, I think we're setting a really bad precedent here.
Okay, at this time, based on that discussion, I'm gonna ask for, approval of the naming of the Crown Point High School baseball field, White Maley Field, Crown Point softball, Cynthia Field, and waive the second meeting requirement. We already did that. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries 3-1. Item 7.01, the superintendent's discussion group. Anything from either Cedar Lake or the city?
We had a very short Cedar Lake redevelopment meeting a few weeks back. There was absolutely nothing to report from that meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Vassar. Mr. Smith, anything with the city?
I have nothing.
Okay, moving on to 7.02. As Mr. Hardman didn't think that would go that fast, I'll give him an opportunity to arrive. Director of Grants and Assessments, Mr. Hardman.
When you're on vacation and there's an opportunity to watch a board meeting, do you take that opportunity? I did.
You may need to find better vacation spots.
Find a better vacation resort or something.
But I think my comment is that it made me reflect on, well, tonight was evidence of it. To see the dialogue that took place with the community, the commendations here, the discussion that just happened, very professional, purposeful demeanor, just exceptional. It's, doesn't happen every place. And so I just want to thank you all for your leadership and taking care of this, of the corporation, even in challenging times. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hardman. Director of Elementary Education, Dr. Chiquina.
Thank you, Mr. President and board members. I'd like to share some information tonight about a pretty big change that's going to impact about 1,300 of our students this year. Senate Enrolled Act 1 has created some meaningful changes with the iRead 3 assessment. iRead 3 is a state reading assessment that measures important foundational reading skills that's traditionally been given to third graders. This year, second grade students will also be required to take iRead 3. On our website now, as of I think toward the end of last week, and then coming home soon in elementary newsletters, there's a letter from me that outlines some important information about iRead and also some of the benefits that come along with taking this assessment in second grade. So that's kind of addressed to our second grade families, but it's on our website now, and will be coming in elementary newsletters here soon. Some of those benefits that come with taking this assessment in grade 2 are that third grade is a heavy testing year with iRead 3 already and the first year of the iLearn assessment. So students in second grade that pass the assessment will not have to take it again, which is a good benefit. Another good reason, benefit of taking it in grade 2 is that this proactive testing can really help parents and teachers work together a year earlier. We had the choice to opt into this a couple years ago. We decided not to because we felt we had the information already with our NWEA assessments. However, the state is requiring it this year based on this new legislation. Another big change along with Senate Enrolled Act 1 is that the retention rules are a little bit more strict for third graders that don't pass the assessment. There will be some exemptions for students able to move on to grade 4 if they do not pass. However, those guidelines are more strict than they have been in recent years. We'll also have a summer school reading program for third graders who do not pass and second graders who are kind of score in that at-risk category, like they may not pass in third grade. It's only August. This is happening in March, but we felt it was important to get information out to our second grade families early on in the year. Our teachers will have lots of professional development about this change, starting in September. This isn't the only big change in the assessment world in Indiana this year. Mrs. Ramirez is going to speak about another big change for our 3rd through 8th graders. But just wanted to share that, those updates about iRead. Last thing I'll say, been in all of our elementary buildings multiple times this school year already. Just very grateful for the hard work of all of our teachers, our all employee groups. I don't want to mention any of them by name, but everyone's working hard. Kids are excited, kids are enthusiastic, and just very appreciative of everyone getting us off to a good start. Thank you. Any questions about the iRead information?
All that's going to, this is the first year for the retention and exemption, Nick, is what you're saying?
Yes, yeah, it's become a little bit more strict this year, Mr. Vassar. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Director of Secondary Education, Mrs. Ramirez.
Thank you, Mr. President and board members. I would like to provide an overview of what iLearn testing is going to look like this year for us here in Crown Point. We have, as a corporation, opted into an iLearn checkpoint pilot this year. In 25-26, all Indiana schools will be required to administer the checkpoints in addition to the summative assessment, but we wanted to get in on the front end so that we can experience this, be able to provide any feedback, as well as then help support our teachers and students in acclimating during this pilot year prior to the official year next year. This will impact our students in grades 3 through 8. And what they will be doing is they will be taking 3 interim assessments that are called iLearn checkpoints throughout the school year. We will not administer NWEA, which we had administered previously to grades 3 through 8, since this assessment is an interim assessment. And then students will take a summative assessment like they have in the spring of 2025. And really the purpose of the iLearn checkpoints is to help our students and our teachers, our staff, to see how students are doing on targeted skills and concepts based on the Indiana standards. And so then we will get reports after each of those assessments are administered that can help us inform intervention and our instruction in the classroom. These assessments will be administered in English language arts and mathematics. We will start here in Crown Point. They give you windows of time for each of the 3 checkpoints. Our first checkpoint administration across the board in grades 3 through 8 will start in October. And what those assessments look like are 20 to 25 questions in ELA and 20 to 25 in math. The tests are technically untimed. However, they anticipate approximately 25 to 45 minutes. However, if students need extended time, the tests can be taken over multiple days in most cases. We are continuing to learn a lot. I think that it's great for us to be on the cutting edge of being part of the pilot so that we can attend professional development that the Department of Education is holding this year, as well as they are consistently releasing documents and support materials that we are then able to share with our administrative staffs, our teachers, and then of course our families. We have the most recent information posted on our school's websites that show what the iLearn checkpoints are, and then they link to some of the overview documents that are very easily digestible in terms of what subdomain topics or categories are covered on each of the checkpoints, and so those are very user-friendly for families to reference. And we will also be messaging more information in our school newsletters, which will outline specific windows for each grade level and when they will administer the assessment. So are there any questions about the iLearn checkpoints and or the summative for this year? Great. My last thing is just to thank the partnership of our families, our students, and our teachers, staff, administrators during open house. Our middle school open houses occurred on the 15th of August and were very well attended, so I'm greatly appreciative of that. And I'm looking very much forward to the Crown Point High School open house, which will be on Wednesday. So thank you very much for partnering families and students, staff at those building levels. Mr. Vassar?
Thank you, Ms. Ramirez. That's a very good report. Question you may not have the knowledge of, but I'm going to ask it anyway since it's a big change with the cell phone policies.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know any information, how things are going at the secondary level.
Yes. I'm very excited to share. I was checking in with administrators at the high school where I think the biggest impact would have been felt with this change, and they have reported back to me that teachers feel very appreciative of the fact that we're making this such a priority. It's allowing students to be more focused, and I think it allows students to be much more engaged and not distracted, and not because necessarily they're choosing to not be distracted, but because the teachers are holding them accountable for not being distracted on their cell phones. So within the first week and a half of school, really positive reports from the high school.
Oh, good. Well, thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you for asking that question. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mears. 7.05, Director, Exceptional Education, Mrs. Paskus.
Good evening, President Angel, members of the board. Starting with a positive, so this year in Exceptional Ed, we have decided to have a theme, and our theme is something magical is happening here. And we have a lot of Disney lovers in our group, but we do just feel like there is something very unique happening here with Exceptional Ed. So we decided to spotlight a few employees. Just no pattern to it. We're just kind of indicating in our leadership group to one another when we feel like someone has done something outstanding. So Mr. Gianfermi helped me deliver these awards to a few staff members last Friday, complete with confetti in the envelope. So we recognized Hannah Grady, a MacArthur para, Teresa Novak, one of our teachers at the high school, Stacy Sanafort, a Winfield applied skills teacher, and Mandy Nelson, a Wheeler applied skills teacher. And these folks are just going above and beyond without being asked to support families and students. So we just wanted to give them some recognition. I also want to thank Kelly Oost, my assistant director, our coordinators, and our diagnostic staff. They've been assisting in processing over 75 move-ins to our district with IEPs. And you have to provide services and meet within 10 days of enrollment. So for these 75 students, that day is August 28th. So it's quickly approaching, and they've been working very hard. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Paskus. Any questions? No, thank you. 7.06, Assistant Superintendent, Mr. Gianfermi.
Thank you, Mr. President, board members. So we have somewhat of a theme through our curriculum instruction department. There's a lot of new mandates, a lot of new testing coming down through the Department of Education, and much of it has been because of new legislation. And one of the things I provided for you in your board packet was a couple attachments that deal with the proposals for the new high school diploma. You may be very aware, the Department of Ed submitted a proposal back in March. They've been mandated to have a new high school diploma by December of 2024. The first proposal in March was not very well received. It was very heavily work-based experienced, no matter what type of rigor you were taking in your classes. There was a lot of questions about how could we have every kid do so many work-based experienced hours to get a diploma. So they came out with a new draft in August. It's been better received. They have answered some of the questions, like higher ed had a lot of concerns about taking away an academic honors diploma. So the comparison graphic attachment that I gave you has the core 40, which we currently have right now, laid out to this newest proposal. You can see that there's only an addition of 2 credits, and that comes in the form of a computer science course and a personal finance course, which are good things. I think everyone would agree upon that. The flexibility they want to build into this new diploma does, however, shift some credits and take away some of the required credits that we've had for many, many years. So we could see some impact there. One of the things this new proposal does, it does bring back kind of a version of the academic honors diploma where you can earn seals. So there's one base diploma. Everyone would have to get those 42 credits. And then you could then add on, if you were to pursue a pathway in enrollment, which is more or less enrollment into a college, very similar to an academic honors diploma. Employment, which was more work-based, which you'd be adding on to your base diploma, or enlistment and service, if you were going to go into military service. Each one of those seals then also has a plus seal that goes with it, which is additional hours of work-based or hours of, mostly in the work-based places, but extra pieces that you'd have to go on for that plus seal. Some of the things that we noticed that really are a change for us are reduced in PE and health credits, reducing some of the required social studies credits that we currently have. And really, right now, there are 5 directed electives, which are fine arts, some CTE courses. Those would go away, and you'd have 12 personalized electives, really opening the door up for the kids to create kind of their own diploma pathway as they work towards graduating. So there's a lot of complicated pieces here and moving pieces. That's why I gave you the attachments. I also gave you a narrative for each one of those pieces that goes along with it. I don't know if you had a chance. It's been a pretty long meeting right now, so I'm not going to go through each and every piece of that. But that's kind of it in a nutshell right now. There will be public comment on this latest draft, and then the DOE will be going in December and making a final proposal for a new high school diploma, which then we've already had conversations, myself and Mrs. Ramirez, with the high school administration. We're preparing for that incoming freshman class who this would affect. So when we have our incoming freshman parent orientation at the end of January, beginning of February, we'll have to dissect what they land on and make sure that those parents know exactly what's happening. We did not react strongly or even share anything in March because we did know that it would probably go through some changes of what they first initially proposed. So you have that in your hands. Any questions on that?
Thank you, Mark, for putting that side by side. That's very helpful. So as I look through this, from what the current Core 40 and then what their newest proposal is, and I know that's getting a lot of backlash, in mathematics, there won't be any requirement for even to take introductory geometry.
Yeah, there's no requirement for geometry or algebra 2, which we currently have. However, you do have to get 7 credits
Right.
in math, so you're going to have to get it somewhere. So,
Well, and I don't know where there's several places you could probably get that.
Yeah.
But also, I noticed, as you pointed out, that the removal of economics, which has been a staple in the state of Indiana since Moses.
yeah, their answer to that is that now the required personal finance class would answer a lot of and crossover on that.
Probably
That's the answer. I'm not defending, I'm just telling you what happens.
But thank you for doing that. That's
No
really
problem.
helpful.
Yeah, I know you guys get some questions on it. Just want to make sure you had that. And then just to wrap up my report, just going into some of the classrooms that I did to give out our confetti awards, they were some of our applied skills classrooms, and just the work that was being done in those classrooms was amazing to me. Just how it was very busy when I walked in, but when those teachers had the kids in great routines and were just able to just bring it all together and just really, you walk into that and you're working in curriculum instruction in a corporation, you just get really proud of who you have working here and, the kids that we have coming into their school. So just wanted to mention that as well.
Thank you, Mr. Gianfilippo.
Sorry, one more question. Practical question.
Yeah.
Assume you had an 8th grader that's coming up to high school next year. We leave these courses, these credits are 7 credits, math and English. Child wants to go to college. Crown Point High School is like a college. I mean, they have so many classes to offer. Where does a parent start to say, son or daughter, you should take these classes? Or how does that work, and what's the practical way we're going to be instructing?
So that's,
parents?
that was actually a conversation myself, Mrs. Ramirez, Mr. Marcinek, and Ms. Elkire were having on Friday. Really feel like that college prep piece where kids that's my goal, I want to go to college. They'll go into the base diploma and then go into the honor seal enrollment. And the big change in there, just one really quick, is that's really close to an academic honors diploma. However, one of the following has to be completed. So you have to take 4 AP courses, but then pass the exam, or 6 college credits, which would be a dual credit, which would be a different challenge for our school counselors, because generally kids will take a lot of AP courses, or they might take the dual credit courses. Now you're gonna kind of have to look to be like, okay, I can pass this AP exam, I want to grab this dual credit course. But they're already thinking about it, you know, regardless of where we land, they're kind of planning out on how do we best guide our students into those pathways, and they do a pretty good job of that right now with the current pathways that we have.
At some point in the future, when this all gets settled, will the school corporation send out information to parents that say this is kind of the path or the recommendation?
Absolutely.
If you're going down this path, this is where you're gonna be guided, going down this path? I mean, is that something we
Yes.
can expect in the future?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
For sure.
Thank you, Mr. Gianfermi. 7.07, Chief Human Resource Officer, Mr. Kiwa.
Thank you, Mr. President and board members. Just real briefly, I want to the list is too long to itemize every individual that chipped into the new teacher academy this year, but from July 24th to August 6th, we had sessions ranging from school safety, technology, all of our curriculum leaders in the back, language arts, math, exceptional education. We even had finance, helping folks understand insurance and benefits and how to get themselves signed up for that. We had, obviously, directors leading sessions. We had principals leading sessions. We had teachers leading sessions. We had counselors leading sessions about emotional supports in the schools. So it's just truly amazing to see how many individuals are invested in getting our new educators in our school system up and running, and we like to say in a groove soon in the school year, so that they can really be firing on all cylinders, and then growing beyond that as they enter their career here at Crown Point. This week, and I should mention too, food service too treats our folks incredibly well throughout this entire time. I must share that this week I'll be visiting each school building starting this week. It's going to take about a week and a half, and we do about 4 check-ins every year, and this will be the first check-in to see how the start's going, whether they're feeling connected, feeling family, feeling like they're a part of something, and finding out if there's anything that they need extra support with at this time. So I just want to thank the massive amount of humanity out there in our school corporation that wraps their arms around our new teachers every year to get them off to a great start. So thank you to everybody that's been involved in that process.
Mr. Kiwa, I have to share just really quickly from somebody who I know who's just starting teaching here but has taught in other corporations, and from the beginning of the meetings and everything that you guys had here with them, they had said this is a whole new ball game, like this is a whole nother level like they had never seen before, just the way, like the entire process of how we bring them in and do everything. And I have to say, I think we take it for granted sometimes how like we do things here and how we try to make it a family and bring everyone in and provide consistency across the board and support, and that does not exist everywhere. And it always is refreshing and great to hear when you hear somebody coming in feel so lucky and special to get to work here. And this is somebody who is not a first-year teacher. This is somebody who's been teaching for over 10 years. So it was great to hear. So I felt like I would share that with you.
That's super feedback. Thank you very much for sharing that.
7.08, Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Reese.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. Tonight I have a little more lengthy discussion than what I normally provide during this segment. Last week we received our assessed valuation for the school corporation from the DLGF. Not any big surprise to many of us, but our assessed valuation for the district is up over 13.5%. With that, we do have some levy constraints for the 3 funds we have where we can levy taxes. We have the referendum operating fund, which is limited to a 3% growth this year, as like last. Operations fund is also limited to a 4% growth. The only fund we have that we can actually go and increase, and I use this term from where our tax rate would be if we did nothing, is our debt service fund. So with that, and we've utilized this in the past, back in 2022, we issued a small bond issue, $5 million, and quickly paid it off in 6 months. We would like to take that same approach, given the availability of some tax rate for us with the large increase in our assessed valuation. So we would do a similar $5 million issue. We would pay that off on June 30th, 2025, so about a 6-month issue. Given the timetable that's laid out in front of us that we have to statutorily complete in that period, we are limited on the number of days that would allow us to get this done by the end of this calendar year to get it on the tax rolls for 2025. So with that, we would hold our first public determination hearing on the next board meeting, September 16th, and we would hold the second one then on September 19th, that Thursday after the Monday board meeting. With that, we need to publish notice of these meetings, similar we did tonight with the disposition of real property. So for this meeting, we would need to publish those dates and times in that legal ad. So with that, I'm requesting a meeting, a special meeting on September 19th, and I just need to, before we leave tonight, have a time for that meeting so we can get that published in the paper.
Thank you, Mr. Reese. We'll discuss that real quickly in other board business then, as we move through this.
Thank you.
Okay?
Just to clarify, so this does not increase any overall tax rate, correct?
No, actually, even with this $5 million issue, we anticipate our tax rate to decline by over 5%.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you. 7.09, Director of Communications, Ms. Allen.
Thank you. Good evening. I am excited to announce that our first ambassador meeting of the year will be Wednesday next week, September 4th. We have 22 individuals in our community that will be joining our group this year, the largest that we've ever had. And then also, later this month, well, September and October, we're going to be taking a really close look at the accessibility of our website. It currently meets all of the basic requirements for accessibility, but we'd like to kind of push that to the next level to be kind of a leader in what it means to have accessible information for anyone who wants to go to our website. So we'll be making some changes, probably not anything you would see on the surface, but behind the scenes, individuals who use screen readers or other assistive technology will be able to navigate our website easier.
Thank you. 7:10, Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Terrell.
Thank you. Brooke did not mention, and I thought she would, since the last time we met, we had our bus tour, and we had, I think it was 17 community members who joined us for a day that included more than 10,000 steps throughout the district. It was a great day, a lot of positive feedback. We'll definitely be looking forward to doing that again in the future. But thank those community members who came along with us that day and spent the better part of the day with us. It was a great opportunity. It has been mentioned multiple times about all the things that happen for our new teachers, but also for all of our current staff and the professional development that takes place before the beginning of the school year. The 3 weeks leading up to the start of the school year, this building was booked nonstop. If you tried to find a parking place here, you were probably parking over in the Education Center parking lot. Want to thank everybody who provides that professional development, but also our custodial staff here within this building. A lot of setup and tear down of chairs and tables and different arrangements. The week of the beginning of school, August 12th, is just a half week for students. But man, that seems like we cram in about 2 weeks into that week. And it's just really satisfying to see how quickly we get right into just having school. And if you go in right now, you would think we were a couple months into the school year with the way that things are flowing. So appreciate all the work of all the people in our buildings and our administrative team here as they help support that. Last thing, just want to mention our community, as you saw with our robotics grant and the amount of money that's coming in there. Our community just continues to support our students over and over again. It was evident if you were at the football game on Friday night. It's just amazing to see the continual outpour of people who are at the game, but then also people who support the teams and are up on the Jumbotron advertising their businesses. And we just appreciate so much and do not take for granted the community in which we live and the support of our district. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Terrell. Item 8 tonight is other business of the board. Our board meeting normally is the fourth Monday of the month, but because of the fall conference for school board that a few of us will be attending, it's scheduled for the 16th of September. I found out tonight Ms. Bazin was going to be out of town, so if everybody can check their calendars to make sure we have a quorum, I will get a hold of Scott Babjack. She did say you return on the 19th, but like you'd be able to do it in the afternoon?
I'll be back in town by 2.
2. I know, Mr. Smith, being an attorney, your schedule could change at any minute. Do you know, Tim, at any point that Thursday, would you be available, maybe like 3 or 4?
For a regular meeting?
No, that's just a quick one for the bond issuance, the actual, that hearing process, where you gotta go through that. We'd approve the first one on the Monday, the 16th, and then that other portion of it is on the 19th.
Later in the afternoon would be better.
Okay, perfect. So why don't we, because you need that time?
I just need the time.
So if Danielle's saying she'd be good, I'll wait Brian to get Scott, but
Can we do like a
4 o'clock? And it's like a 15-minute meeting tops, less than that.
The 19th?
Yes.
I can do 4 o'clock.
Okay, so we're good. All right.
Thank you.
We got that out of the way. And then I'll just verify with Mr. Babjack and Mr. Vassar, if you could just check to make sure with that change on the meeting date, that the 16th will work for you.
What was the first date?
Well, the 19th is the date we were talking about at 4 o'clock.
That's 19,
The
okay.
19th. The regular business meeting is the 16th.
Gotcha.
And with Daniel being out of town, I just want to make sure we got enough for a quorum. I know Mr. Babjack's schedule with out-of-town work has been,
I'll be here.
okay, so we got 2. So I'll verify that we're all okay for month of September.
And in order to meet our deadlines, we really need that meeting on that date.
The 19th and the 16th.
And-
Yes,
yeah,
okay.
both of them.
All right. So we just need one more, knowing that me and Mr. Vash will be here, unless, God willing, I'll be here. All right, with that being said, any other board business?
Okay, we're good on everything else we had to discuss.
Yeah, we're okay. Board statements of appreciation and recognition, item 9, 9.01. Mr. Vassar, anything this evening?
I'd like to thank you, parents, for coming out tonight and advocating for your children. You don't see that all over the scope of the land, so thank you very much for doing that. And I'd urge you to continue to do that when you have issues, to bring them up, so thank you very much.
Ms. Bazin, anything this evening?
Yeah, I wanted to echo, I appreciate the respectful conversation, and I heard multiple times, we don't want to come with just a problem, and to offer solutions, and I really appreciate the way our community can work hand in hand with the administration and the teachers to have a successful year. And then to continue on that, I did want to have just a statement of appreciation in general for all of our families who got all of the kiddos ready to school, for all of our buildings and grounds, and our background staff, custodial staff, food services, for having everything ready for the kids this year, and of course, the teachers for having the classrooms ready for all the smiling little faces. A quick comment on STEM for any of you who have elementary school kids. My kids personally have said that they've been excited. My one daughter has gone, I think, twice, and the other one has gone once, and they have very much enjoyed getting to kick off that whole new programming. So I'm very excited to see what comes from that. So thank you, Dr. Chiquina, for your hard work getting that up and running, offering that for our students. And yeah, that's it for me tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Bazin. Mr. Smith?
Nothing tonight.
Myself, I just, to all those that, go through getting these kids back in the school buildings, I mean, it's just incredible when you're dealing with, where's technical enrollment? ADM's coming up, but where are we estimating?
We're about 8965.
Okay, so 9,000, I'll round up, assuming that we'll probably have some move-ins during the year. 9,000 students, get them back in buildings, and with the construction, again, my sentiments to the moms that spoke this evening. We understand those concerns, and glad you brought those to us, so thank you. Normally, these meetings aren't this long, so you wouldn't have to sit here, so, but it is, and we're glad to sit here when it's necessary to be here. So, with that, I will look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Bazin, second by Mr. Vassar. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries 4-0.